All right, and we are live. So, welcome to Scalefusion's partner podcast this week, and we're looking forward to getting some insights from the ecosystem from my guest today, Chris Saunders from Integrated Communications. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you on, man. We've had so many great conversations individually, so I'm happy to put some of that, record it today, put it on the podcast, and share it with the audience because I know there's a lot of good stuff that's going to come out of it. So before we dive into business, though, I've got a super important question for you that the audience wants to know. What is your favorite kind of ice cream?
Praline pecans. And you notice I didn't say pecan. I'm from Eastern North Carolina where we call them pecans. That's my favorite ice cream. I got it one time a couple years ago and I'm like, I'm never going back. That's my favorite ice cream, man.
That's awesome. I know it's kind of a stupid question, but it's kind of fun to start with a stupid question sometimes. So I was on another podcast and they asked me that, and I'm from Michigan, so I actually growing up. My favorite ice cream was Superman. Half the people in the country don't even know what Superman ice cream is, but I love it.
Well, they're missing out because what's interesting is Superman actually may become my favorite ice cream over pecan pralines. Because we go to the beach every now and then, and there's this it's called the Beach Bunny ice cream shop, and my youngest little girl likes Superman ice cream. I'm like, what in the world is this Superman ice cream about, right? So I tried it, and it's unbelievable. And then it turns out that she loved it so much that my wife found it at the grocery store, and she brought home
Nice.
a container of ice cream. And I got into it. I bet I ate half of it, which is, I don't binge or anything, but I bet I ate half of it. But then they got these milkshakes, and Superman's got
It's got
red,
all
blue,
the colors
yellow,
in there.
and
Yeah.
it's gray whenever they turn it into a milkshake. I would highly recommend you get yourself a Superman milkshake. But yeah, man, I'm a fan of Superman too, for sure.
Nice. I'm gonna have to try the milkshake. I've never done that one. So
Yeah.
even my family thinks I'm crazy for liking the little kid ice cream anyway. They're like, can't you get a more grown up favorite ice cream?
Well, I mean,
But
but isn't ice cream like a kid thing, dude? Like when you think
yeah,
about ice cream, you think about fun. When you think about kids, you think about fun. So, there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that, brother.
All right. Well, in case the audience doesn't want to hear our ramblings on, ice cream for 20 minutes here or whatever, but let's kind of dive into the guts of the podcast here. So, the reason I wanted to have you on is to tell us a little bit more about integrated communications, what you guys do, maybe some background history, what type of industries and customers you guys serve.
Yeah, man. So integrated communications, we've been in business 19 years 2 days ago, which is, it's kind of cool. I mean, I could
Yeah.
probably make a big deal
Congrats.
out of, yeah, thanks. I mean, the big 2-0, we're going to do something special. I'm going to load them all up. We're going to go somewhere cool. But we've been in business since 2004. And I'll just say prior to that, I'm very blue collar. And the only markets we serve are really blue collar markets because they're the lifeblood of this country. But I grew up in Eastern North Carolina, very blue collar family, work ethic roots, that type of stuff. But I got into the cell phone industry in 1999 at US Cellular, selling bag phones and flip phones and phones you actually had to pull the antenna up to actually get reception. And so, I went from there to Verizon, and from Verizon to Sprint, and from Sprint, they had this indirect program where all the wireless carriers have indirect channels. They have direct channels where they got their company-owned retail stores, their B2B sales teams, but they always have a partner channel, whether that's an agent retail store in the mall or a value-added reseller like ourselves. That brings more to the table than just the phone and the plan and the tablet and connectivity and stuff. And so anyway, in 2004, I launched this company because I launched it with nothing but my sales ability. I'm like, you know what? I can be an entrepreneur. Let's go. And so I never really looked back. So we've been in business since 2004, and the core of our business has always been B2B mobility. We've
Yeah.
I remember spending, and with all due respect to anyone in retail, God bless you, bless your hearts. They are talk about true sales professionals and people with thick skin. They got it. But I spent a couple of days in the retail store, like pinch hitting when a manager was out or something, and I was like, man, this is not for me. So we've never really done retail at all. It's been always 100% B2B. We've always served the blue collar industries, plumbing, heating, air conditioning, electrical, last mile delivery, trucking. And so prior to, growing up, I grew up in trucks. My dad drove for 40 plus years. My granddaddy drove for 40 plus years. I'll never forget the like 6 months my granddaddy had to have a knee replacement, so he couldn't drive. Because of shifting those gears all those years.
Oh
And so
yeah.
I grew up in trucks, and so it shaped me. Um, and so when 2016 came around, and the mandate was announced, meaning the ELD, electronic logging mandate, was announced, I'm like, no way. Like, let's go into trucking. Come on, boys and girls, let's go. And so we got into supplying mobility to power ELD systems. And so, you know, we learned a lot of hard lessons along the way, right? Like we had sold MDM and some mounts and cases and bundled and staged and kitted and stuff. But, powering an ELD system is a whole new animal. And so, to kind of clarify what I mean is ELD stands for electronic logging device. And what it is it's really a system. It's more than a device. It's a system to manage and maintain and report a number of hours a truck driver drives in a day. They can only drive 11 hours because it keeps the road safe. If the
Hmm.
FMCSA, after all these years, have done all these studies, and 11 hours is the max they want a driver to drive, so they get proper rest and recovery, and they're just more alert and more safe. So that's what the system does. It monitors and manages that, but it requires a mobile device, and usually that's a tablet. And that tablet needs to be protected with the case. It needs to be mounted so they can see their available hours. It needs to be charged. It needs to be managed with MDM, stage kitted, set up, ready to go. And that's the direction I took the company in
Yeah.
2016. And so back then, it was like, man, we threw a lot of stuff out there just based on our previous history. And when I say we learned a lot of lessons, we learned lessons about what tablets to use and what not to use, what mounts to use, what not to use, what MDMs to use, what not to use. And we learned a lot of best practices over the years. So our core focus, it's not necessarily, I mean, it is our core business, but like our core focus is trucking because I want it to be, because I get to serve a market that
Yeah.
fed my family for years, and and I'm passionate about now. But we do serve other markets.
Yeah, I
The
love,
yeah,
talking to you. I've seen like the passion that you have for the trucking industry, and like congrats on that, being able to align a passion to your business. That's pretty rare actually. I think that a lot that people act on that and get to do that and get the blessing of being able to operate in their passion. So, I mean, every time I talk to you, like you just like light up when you talk about trucking and kind of where your uh the outcome of what you guys do, how it influences the truckers experience. I mean, that's a huge thing. Not just, hey, we're doing we're doing this package because we have to, because of compliance, right? It's how does this affect the truck driver themselves. And could you talk a little bit more about that? Maybe like because you've alluded to, you've seen both sides, right? Where
yeah,
sometimes these systems get put out there and they're not really maybe a lot of thought into it. It's just, hey, we're gonna kind of pull pieces here and there and throw them in the truck, right? Compared to having a very well orchestrated plan and system on how to deploy the whole package. What's the influence? Like, what does that? What have you seen that translate to driver experience on either side of that coin?
That's a great question. One of the things I had alluded to when we first in 2016, when we first started going into ELD, we had to learn a lot of lessons. And what you just referenced really is the lessons that customers learn, right? By, pulling pieces together, multiple pieces together, and hoping that it works well for the driver, right? Yeah. So so let's just start with why the driver experience is absolutely necessary as an end game when you look at these systems. All right. So driver turnover, number one, there's a driver shortage. All right. The FMCSA is trying to lower the entry point from 21 years old down to 18 years old. They have a pilot program running right now because there's a driver shortage. Nobody wants to drive a truck anymore. I personally don't know why that is. They didn't grow up like me, obviously. But there's a driver turnover problem. The average driver turnover industry-wide is 91%. 91%. I met with a rather large company in the Midwest that has 10,000 drivers. They have over 100% driver turnover. And then I've got companies that, we serve that have 70%. And we have a company we're working with right now that's the lowest we've ever heard of. It's got 50% and they're proud of it. And honestly,
Oh, wow.
I personally can't see why they would be proud of 50% because there's always, I'll take that back a little bit, but like that is something to be proud of compared to a 90, but 91% average, but you look at it, you're like, God, that's still half the drivers.
Yeah.
And then you look at the average and like, I couldn't imagine turning over 90% of my team every year. And they're not even in trucks, man. They're working on tablets and supporting MDM, But anyway, that's the reason why driver experience is so important, because when you look at all things, you got to think about a driver. They're not down the hallway. They're not on Zooms. They're not at conferences like we see each other at. They're behind the wheel and they're in the sleeper. Okay. That's their life. They don't see their family. They sacrifice time with their family so we can go get a jar of peanut butter at Walmart by just taking 20 paces down the aisle. They're driving so that you can do this. So all these companies are trying to do all these different things to benefit the driver so they won't leave. So when you look at the playing field, you got equipment. That's the truck they drive. Anything 2018 and greater is going to be plus or minus a small percentage of difference in terms of just the overall condition of the truck and the quality of the truck and the comfort. You look at the bonuses, you look at the pay, all those things are at an all-time high. It gets down to their experience on the road. Okay. So you look at this technology, they're required to use. They're required to use this technology. The wheels cannot turn without it. That technology better work. It better be reliable. There better not be a bunch of failures, screens going out, tablets dying, logs not working, loss of connectivity, failed updates, because that's the first step. If it doesn't work and their cousin drives for another company and they're like, man, you know what? I'm tired of having to edit my logs because this system doesn't work again. I'm going to go drive where my cousin drives. Okay. So the driver experience is at the center of everything we do because of that one concept. And so we have seen companies do a lot of what I mentioned in the beginning, which is learn a lot of hard lessons. And here's how this goes, right? Okay, we're a trucking company. We're going to switch over from terminals like Omnitrax IVGs or PeopleNet PD terminals or whatever, and we're going to move over to tablets. We're going to modernize and move over to tablets. And what happens is they decide to move to a new EOD system, and the transportation person tells the IT guy, or gal, which is fine. Hey, we need 500 tablets, and we need mounts. We need you to take this project and run with it. And that guy or gal calls the Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile rep and says, hey, I need 500 tablets. What kind of tablets? What's your special of the month?
What's
Right?
on the
Whatever.
yeah, what can you give me for the lowest cost,
And
right?
then they get the tablets in, and then they Google mounts, and they see best practices, what they can see on Google and online, and then they do that. And then maybe they have Microsoft Intune internally, part of their Office 365. And well, we have Intune internally for our iPhones. We're just going to put that on there, right? And sometimes they don't even put MDM, and they piece it together. And it's not because they're not smart. It's not because they don't have resources. It's not because they don't have money. They don't have expertise, right? And then they put it out there, and then Intune can't do things that, say, Scalefusion can do. If you get the wrong case and mount and it doesn't have integrated charging, and the driver forgets to plug it up the right way, and the driver's driving down the road, the tablet dies. Well, the driver's got to find somewhere to pull over to get the tablet back going again and edit their logs for that chunk of 2 miles that's unaccounted for drive time, right?
Mm.
And so what happens is the driver is just like, man, like this sucks. Like I can get a $10,000 bonus at this other company. My cousins had, let me go, right?
And they got
So
good technology over there. They like,
absolutely, and then
everybody talks. So yeah.
absolutely, and the technology's got to benefit them more than just logs, which we can get into.
Mhm.
If you want to ask me some questions about that a little later, but I've got some really good concepts on how we can take the driver experience to the next level by leveraging what the technology can do. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. You kind of alluded to, and it's one of the questions that I was going to ask you is kind of the trends that you've seen over the past 19 years that you guys have been around, right? So it sounds like the shift is definitely more into the modern experience on tablets that you referenced, and I imagine that's got to open up a lot more possibilities where companies are then saying, now we have a tablet for ELD. What else can we put on it? To drive efficiency, to do business things, but also, like you said, these guys are on the road all the time. So
Yeah.
how do you enhance the driver experience? Yeah, talk a little bit about that, please.
Well, I mean, so the great question. I mean, the thought around ELD, okay, has always been in the cab of the truck, the bare minimum. All right, you look at the pioneers of ELD, you look at Omnitrax, PeopleNet, Qualcomm became Omnitrax, is now Solera, PeopleNet became Trimble over time, but it was bare minimum, right? It was like logs, navigation, some workflow, maybe way station bypass, and that's it, right? And that was considered advanced, in that era, which was only 6 years ago. Well, the modern way to do it. So companies are modernizing and they're moving over to tablets, right? Uh, and a lot of things that don't change is that mindset of, well, we're going to put a tablet in there, but we're just going to do the same thing. Well, I mean, it opens up the door for you to do so much more for the driver, right? Like, so the trends that we see is the two trends that we see are the two things that we've talked about. One is just pieced together, right?
Yeah.
Because they just don't know any better. All right. And two is it's a bare minimum experience that was comparable to what they used before or what the industry says that they should use, which is logs, workflow, nav, way station bypass is advanced, right? But here's what's possible. All right. So we talk about that driver experience, not only providing a reliable system, right? Like we have a philosophy called GSM. It's the right gear, set up the right way, managed the right way. We don't put junk in the cab of the truck. We put stuff in there that's reliable, that's that's managed well, and that will just work. All right. So that's the first real key to providing a good driver experience. It's got to work for the system that they're required to use. Well, truck drivers have a major issue with truck parking. All right, so let's look at that scenario I mentioned a second ago. All right, the tablet dies because it wasn't charged in. Driver's not paying attention to that. They're driving. They
Yeah.
don't realize the battery is going down, 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 boom, done, right? Well, if they have to pull offside the road, they can't just pull offside the road anywhere. They've got a Freightliner Cascadia and a 53-foot trailer. They've got to find a place to park that truck in order to deal with that problem, right? So truck parking is a major issue. All right.
Yeah.
You can't just pull offside the road like we can. You can't take an exit and pull into the Chick-fil-A parking lot and deal with it. They got to find somewhere to park that truck. So with a tablet, okay, you can run applications like Trucker Path, and even Drivewise is now building in truck parking in their application, so they can say, I got to take this exit up here. Let me look really quickly to see if I can get a park. Or I can't take this exit. Let me see where I can park because I ran out of time to make it to the Walmart distribution center in Cincinnati. So you can do truck parking. You can drive by the weigh station. We've all seen on the interstate that line of trucks backed up to be weighed, right? Whereas a company like Drivewise, which runs on a tablet, will allow them to drive by the weigh station based on their load, based on their CSA score, based on a variety of factors. But the bottom line is this: they can keep on trucking, no pun, but really, they can keep on going. And there's a monetary aspect to that piece. It costs, this is an FMCSA study documented, it costs a trucking company $8.68 every time a truck has to stop at a weigh station. Now, why
That'll
in
add
the
up quick.
world?
Yeah.
And how talk about inconvenience? The driver's got to downshift. They got to hit the Jake brake. They got to change lanes. They got to do all of this stuff. And then they got to come back up to road speed. Unless you have an automatic transmission, which drivers are split on whether they like them or not, they got to shift up, shift down. They got to do all that stuff, right? So it's an inconvenience to the driver. It costs the company money, and they're sacrificing experience there. Okay. So then you have things like video training. All right. So, drivers have to maintain their CDL. All right. How is that typically done? They come off the road. They're in the back of a classroom for 2-3 days, whatever, every year. Okay. Well, there are companies like Carrier's Edge, Infinity, Luma. These companies take those same CDL classes to maintain their CDL. They put them right on the tablet. You stream the classes. Okay, driver's mandatory got, I think, 2 breaks a day, 30 minutes. On their break, they can watch a class. When they're done with their day and they're in the sleeper, they can watch a class. If they deploy this technology and use a tablet with the data plan, the driver never has to really sacrifice any time, which, by the way, also costs the company money. They say the wheels ain't turning, you ain't earning, right? So you got that. Then you have entertainment, right? So let's think about this for a second. All right.
That seems to be a big thing. I was am fascinated on how companies view that or want to manage that. Some companies say no way, and others have a kind of more open mindset to how they could manage that. So I'm curious what your take is on it.
So let me ask you this question: how many streaming services do you have a login for, off top of your head?
At least 3.
Exactly.
3 or 4. I
Who
can't remember.
Who do you know that doesn't have a Netflix login? Probably nobody.
Yeah.
All right. So with unlimited data plans, okay, you can put all of these services right on the tablet. Amazon Prime, DirecTV, Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, whatever. Okay. And first thing is like, I don't want them watching that while they're going down the road. Well, that's where Scalefusion comes in. We have this technology that when the truck starts moving, these apps can't run, right?
Yep.
And the only apps that can run are like the logs, the EOD system, and navigation. So when the truck stops and they're on their break, then they can stream Netflix or watch The Office or whatever. But you're bringing that to the cab of the truck, and that improves the driver experience, right? You put Google Duo on there. They're able to have, FaceTime-like conversations or whatever Android, I think they call it Google Duo, or Zoom or whatever, and they can communicate with their family right on the tablet. And let's just be real about something here. The driver doesn't really like it. Now, some will say, oh, the ones who came into the industry fresh and in the last 6 years and all they've ever known was ELD and electronic logging devices, and they never really used paper logs. They don't know any better, but there's a huge chunk of the population. The median age for truck drivers is way up there, okay? And a good chunk of them use paper logs for years. So they look at the ELD as something that hinders them versus benefits them. So when you stack all these things on top of a reliable system, what you get is this: a driver who looks at that ELD and says, yeah, it monitors my drive time. Okay, got it. But it'll tell me where I can park my truck. It will it will allow me to drive by the way station. It will allow me to watch my CDL videos and not have to stop driving and go recertify. It will allow me to watch The Office or Sons of Anarchy or whatever. And oh, by the way, we can put training content on there above and beyond the CDLs. If these guys come from one system, they come from a trucking company that used Samsara, and now they're over at this new trucking company that uses Geotab. The rules are the same, but the way you log in and log out and certify logs and on duty, it's all different. How do we learn? How do we learn today? Even with the older drivers, you need to change a wheel bearing on your Cub Cadet lawnmower. You Google it, you watch a YouTube video, you're at Home Depot, and then you got it up on blocks working on it. We learn by watching video. So we put videos on how to use the systems that are on the tablet right there at the driver's fingertips. So that sends driver adoption up and satisfaction with the new system up because they're more familiar with it. You need to certify logs. Watch a 45-second video. Here it is. Click, click, boom. Oh, now I know how to certify my logs. And that reduces phone calls to the tip of the spear, which is the company's safety department. So everybody wins in that scenario. That is what a tablet can really do for a driver beyond logs, workflow, nav.
Yeah, kind of you're shifting the mentality from just restriction of here's what I have to do for compliance into how do we enable, the drivers, which I love.
Well, it's the
Um,
difference between hating the ELD, and that's a tough word to say, and
yeah,
loving the
yeah,
ELD,
right.
right? Like it's there's a difference. And when you provide a reliable system and then you stack all the things that I just mentioned, it goes from a boat anchor to a driver enablement system.
Yeah, absolutely. Shifting gears a little bit on, you kind of already alluded to the points where Scalefusion comes into this complete package, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked. Obviously, there's a lot of MDMs in the marketplace. We have a lot of competitors, a lot of good competitors. Let's be honest. I'm not gonna bash anybody, but can you talk a little bit, maybe to some unique features or where you've seen some things that you guys, as an organization, really appreciate on Scalefusion? Maybe some differentiators where you've been able to add value to your customers.
Yeah, so I'll rewind the clock a little bit and say back in 2016, we deployed 4 or 5 MDMs, right? Like it was like, what does the customer want? Let's give them options. And then we whittled that down over time to what really worked and was reliable, because if it doesn't work and it's not reliable, not only does the driver suffer, the customer suffers, our team has to clean up the mess, right?
Yeah, you guys are
So that's the
managing it, right? You're taking the calls when
absolutely,
things go
absolutely.
wrong.
The buck stops with our team on resolving the issue, right? So I'll tell you that we've churned through MDMs over the years, and again, gotten it down to a short list. And so there are 3 things I'll say about Scalefusion, and I will also go back to the where I ended on the driver experience thing is training videos. So early on in 2016, whenever drivers that had never used ELDs before were using ELDs, they had to learn how to use the new system. And so we came up with this idea of putting training videos on the tablet. And we've always had to use Google Drive or some file management system that required a username and a password. And if someone changed the password, it created problems. And so anyway, that's actually been used right up until the last couple of years. And then when I finally got an opportunity to look at Scalefusion, you had me at FileDoc. And here's what I mean by that. So now with Scalefusion, we can take all those training videos. Let's say they're coming from Samsara to Geotab, and Geotab training videos are all there. We can put those training videos right on the device, right beside the application, and they're downloaded in the memory of the device, not even needing to stream or buffer, right? That's huge. And here's the thing, it's huge for the driver. Like, again, getting back
Yeah.
to what I said,
Yep.
it's not just lip service, it's the deal, man. Driver experience and enabling that driver is at the core of everything that we think about and that we do. And the ability to do that effortlessly to, like, let me give you an example. We had a customer, we have a big pilot going on right now with Scalefusion, and you're familiar. And there was an issue with the ELD. They did a database change, and the drivers needed to go click and do a check for updates, even though there's not an update available, but it resets something and it allows them to, for that database to pull through to the tablet and to the ELD. And we're talking about drivers here, and drivers are some of the most important people in the country, but a lot of them are not technology people, and a lot of them need to be talked to and someone to see what they see to be able to do this. So two things. One, with Scalefusion, we're able to remote onto the tablet, talk to the driver while they're flipping through the menus and checking for updates and resetting that database thing. That's the first thing. Secondly, we can put an instructional file, PDF, right on the tablet within like 30 seconds to a minute. Boom, it pops up in the training library. 3, we can record the screen on how to do this update, turn it into a video, drop it right on the tablet for all the drivers. This is all within minutes, right?
Yeah.
And that is huge. That is huge. And then lastly, there's 2 other reasons why. There's many reasons why, but I mentioned the driving while watching videos, right? Like the perception is, oh, we're not going to let them watch Netflix. They'll watch it while they're going down the road. Well, when you can restrict applications while the truck is moving, it makes the truck safer. It allows you to deploy applications that enrich the driver's life and not risk your safety. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then lastly is the point click piece. We've seen all these MDMs out there that you have to do a lot of work to accomplish some of the same things, which are right click done with Scalefusion. So, you know, when we saw those things, and then my team comes to me and my team is like, Chris, we've got to offer Scalefusion to our customers. And then after that, when you have customers that have been embedded with other systems for years, and then they do a trial and they see the system and they see some of the same things that are done in one system, how they're done in the other. And then the benefits that I just mentioned, like FileDoc and that type stuff. When the customer says, and these are some big customers, we're moving to Scalefusion as soon as it's time to refresh our equipment. Yeah. I mean, you know, they said that the proof is in the pudding, right? Well, there you go.
So that's awesome, man. Thanks for the feedback. It's always good to hear that feedback directly from customers that have tried it, that are using Scalefusion, and from partners like you guys. So we're kind of wrapping up, kind of short on time. So
Yep.
I want to, any last final words you want to leave with the audience to wrap things up?
Well, here's what I will say. For those of you that are looking to deploy mobile devices, you're in trucking companies, last mile delivery, plumbing, heating, air conditioning, the end user experience is always the most important thing. Okay. You need the reliable system in the cabs of those trucks. You need to make sure you have the right tablets or right phones. You need to have the right mounts with integrated charging so that whenever it docks, it's charged, it's hardwired in. Nobody has to unplug things and plug things up. Okay. You need to have the device set up the right way. The display settings, security settings, GPS location accuracy, these things matter. What a lot of people do is they just load the app on there and they send them on out, right? And they don't optimize. And that creates a negative user experience, right? They need to be locked down and managed with MDM like Scalefusion, right? And then you need to have management policies in place whenever you do updates. When you have 500 drivers that you need to do an application update on, you need to be prepared for that 50 that are going to fall out the other side, and you're going to have to use things like remote control to help them. It's all about having the right gear, setting it up the right way, and then managing it the right way. And if we can help you, we would love to. I'm clearly passionate about what it is that I do, but I'm also just as passionate about educating people because we've seen what happens out there. And we hear companies saying our driver turnover is 120%, and they've got some Joy tab with an Amazon case and a car charger and a universal mount, no MDM, and they don't have a strategy in place to manage it, but they've got a $250,000 truck, you know, times 500. So it's all about making sure you have the right gear, setting it up the right way, managing it the right way, and you can improve that in user experience, whether it's a driver or technician for plumbing, heating, air conditioning. And when you improve that experience, you create a happier employee, and they're more important than any of us. Without them, the company doesn't run. Without them, the country doesn't run. And if we can help you, we'd love to.
That's awesome, man. I really appreciate you being on. I couldn't recommend you guys enough to anybody in this industry. So hopefully that that knowledge base, that passions come through on this. So if anybody is in the market for a system like we've talked about today, I would really recommend getting with Chris and his team. What's the best way to get a hold of you guys, Chris, if somebody wants to reach out?
Well, naturally, the website. So icomcorp.com, ICOMMCORP.com. You'll see our in a box strategies, ELD in a box. You bring your ELD, we bring all the other pieces. POD, proof of delivery in a box for distribution, last mile delivery, that type stuff. And then field service in a box. So for plumbing, heating, air conditioning, electrical, the concept's the same. You know, ELD is federally mandated, right? But the others aren't federally mandated, but they can't operate their businesses without this technology, right?
Yeah.
So we serve all of those, and you'll see all of those concepts and solutions on our site. And for trucking, we have a site that's, educational for companies. It's eldinabox.com, eldinabox.com, and there's a link on there that says free, and it means just free education. But there's 10 videos there that'll educate you on some of the stuff that I talked about here in more detail. And then you can connect with me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. It's all at Chris Saunders the Man. So LinkedIn / Chris Saunders the Man, Facebook / Chris Saunders the Man, Instagram, Chris Saunders the Man. So
That's awesome. Thank you, Chris Saunders, the man, for being on the podcast. It's an honor to have you on. And until next time, thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we'll have another partner podcast next month. Thanks again.